Hi everyone, thank you for joining today. Welcome to the third webinar from Greener Kent Schools. It's great to have you all here, whether you're live this afternoon or watching back the recording. My name's Suzie Hammond and I am the Engagement and Behaviour Change Officer for the Environment and Circular Economy team here at Kent County Council. So if you've joined the call today, please introduce yourselves and say your name and school or organisation. Just a little bit of housekeeping. So the webinar is being recorded and all of the slides and links will be sent through afterwards. Cameras and microphones have been switched off for everyone except the presenters, but please add any questions into the Q&A and we can cover those afterwards with all of the speakers. We've got a full agenda, so we'll hopefully have enough time to answer them all. So just a little reminder about the Greener Kent Schools programme. So this is to support and help schools connect with the Department for Education, Sustainability and Climate Change Strategy, and is open for all schools in Kent to get involved in. The aim is to create an engaging and thriving community of school sustainability leads working collaboratively to take climate action within their school communities and beyond. So the running order for this afternoon's meeting. So I'll begin by introducing the theme of energy alongside my KCC colleague Juliana Munoz. We will then be joined by Sue Horn, who is the Education Account Manager, and Andy Tanner, who is the Solar Service Lead and Senior Carbon Consultant, and they are both from Laser Energy. They will be followed by Danielle Parker, who is the Community and Education Development Manager for Solar for Schools. And they will share about how they can offer an alternative funding option along with their fantastic educational programme. Finally, I will give a run through of the current opportunities that I have available for schools to get involved in, and then we'll have time for a short Q&A session, and we'll close with a quick recap of the key actions to take. So here's the Greener Kent Schools programme. Hopefully you have managed to create or get started on your climate action plan. And this term is all about energy and how you can build actions into your plans. There is an overwhelming amount of resources out there for schools, and I'm here to help you navigate these and find the right support for you. Schools can join in at any time along the way, and if you aren't receiving Greener Kent Schools updates, then please fill in the Greener Kent Schools survey form, which my colleague Jo will pop in the chat. So this term, the aims are to understand a bit more about where your school carbon footprint emissions are coming from via energy usage, how to reduce that energy usage, what options there are for decarbonisation, and also how to fund these. So if you have managed to complete your carbon footprint via the free Count Your Carbon tool, then you may have a school carbon footprint pie chart that looks a bit like this. So you can see the insight from this report, and you could use that to get started on what actions to take for the energy usage for your school and how to reduce those emissions. And you could also complete an energy audit of your school. Guidelines for these are available on the Department for Education's Energy Efficiency Guidelines. There are lots of ways to get started that don't involve spending any money and would also save you money. So an organisation called Energy Sparks have lots of freely available activities. Some of the bigger decarbonisation projects require investment and knowledge of what would work best for your own school building. The great thing about reducing emissions through energy means that you can save money and create a ripple effect of behaviour change of your staff and pupils within their own households and into their communities. So a little bit about energy in schools. The education estate across England, including all the state primary and secondary schools plus the universities, together are responsible for about 37% of carbon emissions from public sector buildings. And although new school buildings are now built to net zero standards, actually 80% of the school buildings that we have today will still be in use in 2050. So it's really important to action decarbonisation within these current buildings. Energy usage in schools is split across many areas, so lighting and heating making up the biggest share, but also including cooling, ventilation, water heating, IT and computer equipment, refrigeration and catering equipment, and office equipment. Energy use can be affected by many factors, including the condition of the building, how well the building and systems have been managed and maintained, the type and size of the settings, for example, different operational requirements for primary or secondary, further education or special educational needs and disabilities, different user behaviours within those buildings, the energy efficiency of equipment, including IT and education equipment, and then the catering requirements of users and efficiency of existing equipment. Environmental factors can also affect this, such as heat waves or extreme cold weather, which we've had quite a lot of recently. So I'm just going to introduce my colleague Juliana. She is the Community and Domestic Energy Support Officer here at KCC, and she's going to talk you through different ideas for school building decarbonisation.
Thank you, Susie. Hi, everyone. It's great to be here. As Susie mentioned, I'm part of KCC's energy team, and part of my role is to help schools decarbonise in general. So I'm here for any help that you may need, any support. Please get in touch. So I'm going to talk about some of the things that you can do as a school. So there are lots of things you can do as a school to reduce your energy consumption and become more energy efficient. So it can start with easier and cheaper actions such as behavior change campaigns, like you can stick signs around the school to remind the staff and students to turn lights off, equipment, heating if appropriate, of course, at the end of the day. You can have heating controls and energy management systems which use live data to recommend changes you can make to the way you use energy and electricity in the school buildings. We have recommended some energy management systems that you may want to look into. I believe the resource package will be circulated after the webinar, so keep a lookout for that. Then depending on the type, age, condition, and activities that happen in the school building, retrofitting the building is another way to achieve energy efficiency. Of course, many of you will know that this comes at a higher price than the kind of behavior change campaigns. And retrofit will look different for each school. But there are grant schemes and funds out there that you can apply to, such as the Low Carbon Skills Fund and the Public Sector Decarbonisation Fund. There are some organisations and consultancies that can help schools apply for this type of fund, such as Re-Energize. We have Kirsty from Re-Energize on the call in case anyone would like to find out more information on the process of applying for this competitive fund. And the type of support they can provide as well. So make yourself known, and Kirsty, please get in touch as well. Then there's also schemes and organizations such as Solar for Schools that will fund the installation and maintenance of solar panels. We will hear more from them later on in the webinar. We've got Danielle on the call. Then we've got Laser Energy, who are able to help schools in their decarbonisation efforts with LED lighting and solar PV frameworks. And we'll also hear from Sue later on in the webinar. So the opportunities and support available are endless. As I mentioned, please do get in touch with me for help, and I'll be happy to guide you in the right direction. That's what I'm here for. Another great way to get started in your decarbonisation journey by yourself, if you kind of want to get started without any help, is to search for your DEC rating and recommendations on the government website. I'm just going to put a link to an example of a school. It's actually the school I went to. Hopefully they won't mind me sharing their DEC rating, but you'll be able to see what you can look at in the DEC rating on the government website. So if your DEC rating is up to date, you will be able to see recommendations of different actions or works that you can do in the building with an associated potential impact on carbon emissions, as well as the estimated payback period for each of the actions. So it's a really useful tool to get started with without much help or expertise in the school. Of course, in addition to the tools that Suzie mentioned and some of the tools that we'll go into. On that note, I'll pass back to Suzie. But again, please get in contact with me for any help or support. I'll put my email address in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you, Juliana. So as Juliana mentioned, there is lots of support available. I've already mentioned Energy Sparks, so they offer free activities as well as a costed support package. The Let's Go Zero Climate Action Advisors review energy and decarbonisation when they support your school to create a climate action plan. And then Laser Energy and Solar for Schools will share today how they can support your school with your energy decarbonisation journey. So here's a few ideas for some cost-free activities to get started with. So your eco team could complete an energy audit around the school. There's also the idea of a holiday switch-off campaign. So brilliant resources on Energy Sparks who have got a winter and a summer holiday switch-off checklist for schools to use. Now, obviously, it is a larger education setting, but the University College London recently led their Christmas switch off campaign where they challenged halls and departments to save as much energy as possible during the holiday closure, which was from December the 22nd to January the 2nd. 562 students and staff pledged to switch off their lights, computers, lab equipment, and more. And they managed to save over 1 million kilowatt hours of energy, 225 tonnes of carbon emissions, and an incredible £184,000. Now, I do appreciate that that is a large further education or institution, but it just shows what is possible when people group together and really put their heads together on how to run a switch off campaign. So another example of what could be done, which Juliana mentioned, is labelling up the switches around your school. So highlight them in green if they can be switched off if not in use. Highlight in amber if you need to ask a member of staff, and then red for do not switch off, as there's obviously items in schools that you wouldn't want switched off. Then an idea of holding a power down or no electricity day to see what it's like, and maybe holding lessons outside. Thermal imaging cameras are available to borrow from some local councils and community energy groups. So for instance, I know that Tunbridge and Moorling Borough Council and Sevenoaks Town Council have these to pre-book. They're available to use for free. And then finally, there's guidelines called Wiser Watts, which show how you can decarbonise your IT system, moving it away from an always on culture. So I'm just going to stop sharing and hand over to Sue and Andy at Laser. So if you want to share your slides, Sue.
Thank you, Suzie. Okay, hopefully you can see that.
Yep, that's okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Brilliant. Lovely. Thank you. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Sue. I'm the Education Account Manager here at Laser Energy to support Kent schools. Many of you already work with Laser, but may not know that much about us. So here's a brief introduction to who we are and how we can help you. With over 30 years experience in the energy industry, we are part of the KCC's Commercial Services Group, working with schools and the public sector to reduce energy costs and help implement sustainability solutions. Our framework for multiple services enables our 5,000 schools and multi-academy trusts to compliantly fulfil some of their energy procurement requirements. For example, during the last 4-year framework period, we've secured approximately £2.6 billion worth of gas, electricity and water for our customers. And today we're going to have a quick look through some of our key areas and services where we can help your school to make energy efficiencies. So looking through our pie chart, our dedicated schools customer service team and account management team are now in place and ready to provide expert support and advice. Through our reporting tools with our online portal and our bureau service, we can provide real-time data and insight into your energy consumption and financial data, as well as information for your sustainability leads and pupils to access. We also provide Kent schools with display energy certificates, as Juliana mentioned and touched on earlier. We provide over 1,000 schools in the UK with these. If you're a Kent school, you actually get this service included within your energy contract as part of the service. So we're going to be looking at that a bit further. And our in-house teams that manage everything needed to deliver a net zero project from the concept right through to the completion. So we're going to go a bit more into rooftop solar, how it's enabling schools to generate their own renewable electricity, and LED lighting projects to help you transform the learning spaces within the buildings. So starting with LED, with the phasing out of fluorescent lights from February last year, more and more marketplace availability of the old style lighting is less available, making LED lighting projects really important to implement now. So switching to LED lighting through our Department of Education approved framework provides many benefits. Quite importantly, we see on our projects regular savings of approximately 70% on a school's lighting bill, which can equate to 20% of the overall energy bill for the school. And our last couple of years, our LED teams have been working with schools to deliver lots of lighting projects, approximately £2.8 million worth, saving those schools an estimated £10 million on their electricity bills. So massive savings to be made there. The framework enables a school to benefit from wholesale pricing through the framework. So it tends to make it cost effective to go with the fully managed solution rather than schools trying to do ad hoc bits and changes here and there as they go along. And our new updated LED framework is due to go live from the 1st of March. And this will also enable schools to access a fully compliant leasing option to help fund an LED project where your budgets might be limited. LED lighting typically has a 10-year lifespan and a 5-year warranty, so it does provide a good long-term solution for the school. I'm pleased to share this case study for an LED project that we completed for Goldwyn School in Kent. From the site survey, which was free of charge for the school, we provided project specifications, designed it, our team ran a mini framework tender and obtained multiple compliant quotes, all matching our design that we developed and agreed with the school. The school could then select who they wanted to award the contract to. The project is a great example and showcases not only the great savings that you can see on the slide of over £10,000 per year on their lighting costs, but it also highlights how some of the requirements can change mid-flow in a project and how we can work with the school. So for example, on this project, the work was required to be completed in term time with the work all being done out of hours, and our teams ensuring that the site was safe and operational every single morning for the pupils and staff when they returned in the mornings. We also found that there were changes required mid-project with the ceiling lights, and also electrical wiring was needed as additional dimming requirements were allocated and found for the classrooms. So thanks for Goldwyn School for their sharing their experience and their fantastic comments. And then the last case study I was just going to share was from Churchill Primary School, again in Kent. Churchill also saw great savings of about 20% reduction of their electricity bill. And through this £1,200 a year saving, they benefited for return on investment over 4.3 years. So fairly quick return on investment for them. And I like this slide, and I often share it with schools because I think it clearly shows how the LED lights, yes, they're great for saving money, but how they have relit this whole classroom and made the whole area quite good for usage. So previously around the sides, they had cloakroom areas because it was dark, as you can see on the picture on the left. It's quite dark for the children. When the new lights went in suspended from the ceiling, they could open up the whole area, and in that area they could then add a mini library and a den. And they also had increased savings with auto LED lighting in the toilet and the cupboard areas, and emergency lights and fire escape signs were replaced with LED lights. So quite a good transformation there for the space. And then further to what Juliana mentioned earlier, all KCC schools do have this service from us, and it's a great tool to be used. So the deck provides an understanding of the operational rating of your building, and that's a direct reflection on your actual energy consumption. And this rating then benchmarks your school building against a typical building of the same type. So this gives you a good indication of how efficient your school building is actually being run. The deck also includes information and metrics which you can use, such as the kilowatt hours consumed per square metre for all fuels used on the site, and the CO2 emissions per year in tonnes, providing a direct measure of the school's environmental impact. So don't forget, review your advisory report. This happens every 7 years and becomes part of your DEC certificate. The advisory report from our on-site survey highlights areas where energy efficiencies can be made, helping you to identify actionable steps to improve the school building's performance. So the DEC is obviously more than just a compliance tool. It's a powerful resource to help the school make informed decisions about energy efficiency and sustainability. So I'm now going to hand over to Andy to talk about a bit more about solar.
Hello, I'm Andy. I'm a solar service lead, and so I've been installing solar for 20 plus years, based in Cornwall, but working with KCC and Laser Energy in Kent. And yeah, so I've installed over 1,000 systems, and done the roofing, done the electricals. I've also done the PGCE and secondary science education, so I kind of got a good gist of the of what schools need and the what service is most helpful. So let's move along. Let's go. So this is so the benefits of solar in brief is the fuel is free, as in you don't pay for that sunshine. It's renewable, so it's going to come back every day. There's no pollution from the generation, so we've got so many positive things. And when we start explaining stuff like this to young people and children, it's just so obvious. When you compare solar with fossil fuels, young people are we want renewables, obviously. So it's very simple from a young person's mind. Other benefits are very low maintenance. They do require a clean in some circumstances. But generally, the inverters have at least a 10-year warranty. Some have 20-year warranties. The modules have a 25 to 30-year warranty. So there's not much to go wrong once they're up and functioning. The energy is generated and consumed on site, which is obviously fantastic, rather than sticking them in a solar farm. The solar modules on the roof just provide electricity directly to where it's being consumed underneath the roof. So it's such a holistic technology. So how it works preferentially is the energy being generated is used on site. So if it's generating energy when you're using energy, then you'll be using it from the sun. If you're not using the energy, for example, at weekends or some holidays, then that energy is exported onto the grid, and you can get paid through a thing called a smart export guarantee for anything that leaves the building. Okay, so that's the benefits of solar, which are manifold and fantastic. So let's move along and see what's good. So, but obviously, to take it from what a great idea to making it happen, certainly for schools, there's some challenges, and some of those challenges are a lack of time. Obviously, you've got to focus on your key priorities, which is educating the next generation. And with the best will of the world, you can't be experts on everything. So there is some specialist knowledge involved with which modules to choose, what inverters, how to integrate them with your system, how to get them on the roof safely. So there is, so schools often lack that specialist knowledge. So that's where Laser can provide that kind of level of support. A lot of schools I've spoken to have had some form of bad experience with solar. Some of them have had solar installed by, for example, by the council during a holiday or something, especially during the feed-in tariff time. And I've had a lot of schools contact me saying they don't really know if the system's working. Is it functioning? How does it work? So that there's a lot of kind of solar happened without anyone really quite knowing how or why. And then there's often been quite a bit of a lack in the handover, and the operations and maintenance manuals seem to disappear. So there's often been issues with schools not really understanding, if they've had solar, exactly how it works or whether it's working at all. And obviously then another major impact then, a stumbling block, is the lack of finance. And both us and so schools have got some solutions for that. So let's go on, see what else we've got going on. Next slide, please. So you can pass on next slide. There we go. Okay, so some of the challenges to having a solar installation are DNO, and the DNO is the UK Power Network in Kent, and there's an application needs to go to them to make sure that you can connect to the grid safely. So I'm just going to cover these things in brief, but so there's permission is required from the DNO before solar can be connected. Planning is generally not an issue, and it comes under permitted development, but there are certain aspects that need to be covered regarding, for example, any glare potentially from the modules, where the modules are situated. Are they near the edge of a roof? Is it on a listed building or conservation area? All these are things that need to be taken into account. So the way that's Laser work is we contact the DNO, and we do liaisons with the DNO to make sure a connection can happen. We put in a pre-planning notice to the council to let them know this project's going on and if there's any issues. There's always updates on regulations in terms of wiring regulations, connecting to existing lightning protection systems, connecting to fire alarm systems. Insurance companies often also, especially Zurich, which I think covers most of the schools in Kent, also can have some additional requirements beyond what the regulations require in terms of location of key components like the inverter to prevent any fire issues. They're often wanting the inverters situated outside. So that's got to be carefully thought through in terms of making sure pupils can't access those, but a fire brigade could. And then the assessments of what all those different things. So that's the roof, the structural aspects, to making sure that the roofs can actually take the additional load. So laser cover all those five different aspects in our process, and that's on the next slide, please. So laser offer a free desktop assessment. So relatively quickly, if you contact Sue and provided with obviously your name, school address, etc., and some details of your consumption, the minimum we need is an annual consumption figure. Then I can do a free desktop design and optimize it to provide you the best financial payback, and optimize that system size to meet your requirements. If that is enough, that should be enough information to give you a feel for, okay, that's interesting enough, I'd like to explore it some more. Then we would then charge for stage one, where we then do a site survey, and then we undertake a structural engineering report. We contact the DNO, we do contact the planners, and we come up with a full feasibility study that covers all potential aspects. It covers where we'd connect to the point of connection with the electricity supply, the roof, cable routes, inverter locations, edge protection, scaffolding, all the kind of boring stuff that needs to be covered, but that's what we do. Then we prepare a fully compliant procurement process, so that you can so we've got 20 different installers on our framework. So we put out tender documents so that everyone is quoting like for like. So when the quotes come back, they're for the same size system in the same place in the same location to the same standard. So it just makes much easier to compare quality and also price, and it's fully compliant. So in terms of the procurement process, that's all covered. We then project manage the install from initial pre-start meeting right through the whole installation, through including all the health and safety aspects, through to final commissioning and sign off, and the O&M manuals, and the training on how the systems work, make sure the stickers are up, make sure all the wiring diagrams are there, make sure everyone understands, make sure the monitoring system's up and working on your platform so you can view it, that your kids can view it, etc. So next slide, please. Here's a quick one we've done. So this is a Grange school. So this is a good example. This has got the edge protection all around it, as you can see. It's on a flat roof. 200 modules, so that's about 100 kilowatt system, producing 85,000 kilowatt hours a year. So these are kind of ballpark figures, but it's roughly annual savings of £20,000 a year on their bills, plus some export guarantee scheme. So over that 25-year life, the install is roughly 120,000. So this gives you roughly a 6-year payback on an investment, and over the 25-year lifespan, that's that £120,000 investment saves you around 500,000. And then the annual carbon savings is 17 tonnes a year, which equates to 425 tonnes a year. So different options for how to get this done. So the best one financially for yourselves, if you have the capital, is to use your own capital if you've got it, because you get all the benefits from all that electricity, and you own it, and it's yours, and all that income, and it's all yours. The option two is KCC offer a loan scheme. The exact details could be confirmed, but the more people that show interest in it, the more likely it is to become clearer. But the basics of it is a 10-year loan, but you'll be making savings from year one. So the money you save on your bills should be more than the payback on the loan. So, but the benefit is that you own the system and you repay the loan through the savings to your bill. And then option three is we also offer a power purchase agreement, which is where effectively someone else will rent your roof. We do all the organising, but then you would then pay for a cheaper rate of electricity. So it's kind of the least financial beneficial, but it's the easiest in some ways because they deal with the maintenance, the installation, and all you've got to do is pay a slightly reduced rate on your electricity. But it's carbon. You're saving your carbon. So I think the only other thing I want to say is we also work with Energy Spark, so I can definitely recommend them as a really good. We're sponsoring it for, I think it's about 50 schools this year throughout the country, and I visited one of their workshops yesterday, and it was really good. They offer a facilitators come in and work and do an assembly and work with different classes, and I went to view one yesterday and it was really good. But they're also their platform, how they analyze data and everything is really good. So we work with Energy Sparks quite deeply, and it's yeah, very impressed with them. Next slide. I think that might be me done, possibly.
Thank you, Andy. That's really informative. So just to summarise what Andy's just been through, we understand that every school has unique budgetary constraints, and that's why we've developed a range of funding solutions to help. As you've explained, from self-funding projects to KCC loan scheme, through to a longer term solution through a power purchase agreement over a 20 to 25 year period. So our existing net zero frameworks and our new solar specific framework that's coming from the 1st of April will be there to provide a fully managed and compliant procurement route for the schools. Laser, along with the schools, agreement, control, design, select suppliers from our vetted frameworks and manage the full installation, as Andy's mentioned. We have the educational support packages as well through Energy Sparks. So overall, the in-house team run your project from start to completion and then, you know, support thereafter. So thanks so much for listening. Really appreciate you attending the webinar. If you want to find out more, please reach out to me on the contact information below. And don't forget to check out our funding options blog on our school's website. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue and Andy. That was really great to hear all about your different options that you've got. So just going to move over to Danielle, who's from Solar for Schools, and she's going to talk about their alternative funding option and their amazing education package.
Thanks so much, Susie. I am just going to attempt to share my slides. Can you see that?
It's coming up with your slides now. Yeah.
Yep. Great. Okay. So yeah, just wanted to say thanks so much for having us on this webinar. We're really excited to be working with Kent City Council, and it's also great to hear what Laser are doing as well, because that's the first time I'm hearing that. So we also seriously endorse Energy Sparks and have the bubblings of a partnership going. Our CEO is on the board of Energy Sparks as well, so they are really an amazing organisation and do some great work around the education. But coming to Solar for Schools, so we've been around since 2015, 2016. We have over 100 years of experience across the team in solar on schools and also commercial solar. Our current Chief Operations Director has run 2 huge solar companies, and we were really set up to cater only for schools, right? So we only deal with schools, and so our experience is around how do we best work with schools to achieve their decarbonisation targets through solar. We are very aware of the sensitivities around installing in a school or on a school rooftop, and making sure that, you know, everything is in place to ensure smooth installations that, you know, meet health and safety requirements, but also really consider school timetables, what's happening at the time. We install throughout the year, just because if we didn't, we wouldn't be able to do all of our installs. So we can't always guarantee a holiday install, but that's why we work with really trusted and quite heavily vetted installers to ensure that they know our requirements for working with our schools. So yeah, we are just like Laser, we'll develop projects right from, you know, that kind of early initial interest in, oh, I'm just thinking about solar, what are my questions, right up to installation, and then the full asset management of the projects, right? So for the lifetime of that solar, we will be there next to the school, holding its hand, making sure everything is going well. Really, the aim is that the school has a hassle-free experience, right? So just like it was mentioned about, you know, applying for the DNO for planning permission, getting all your site surveys done, making sure everything is in place for that installation to run smoothly. Solar for Schools will take care of all of that. We just require the school to be compliant with sending us the right documents when we need them, right? We also are fundraisers. So as was mentioned, we have a particular funding model. We have various different options, which I'll come on to that in a moment. We fully manage the projects, but I think one of the things that makes us really stand out in quite a saturated market. So I think it's really good that Kent City Council are doing this, because, you know, you can be, as a business manager, you can be bombarded by offers and interest in putting solar on your rooftop, and it's really, really hard to pick out the wheat from the chaff, and also to understand what people are offering you. And I would really like be very cautious about what people are trying to charge you for. I've heard some quite horror stories recently about schools getting charged £2,000, you know, for a feasibility study or for a site visit. Just don't do that. You know, don't pay for those sorts of things. You can get those free, as has been mentioned. Laser will do a desktop feasibility study for free, and so will we. So don't get caught out paying for things that you don't need to. But I just wanted to really highlight, before I move on to the kind of nitty-gritty of our offer and who we are, just highlight the education that we offer. So I'm going to attempt to go to the webpage. Right. So this is our education impact report. I'm not going to share it because it isn't 100% finished yet, but this is from 2024. And yeah, I'm really, really proud of this with Solar for Schools. I work in our education team as well as partly on the, you know, the project development side of things. But we are very, very proud of what we do with our schools to ensure that students and the staff feel the educational benefits of having solar on their rooftops. You know, as it's been mentioned, that it's an educational tool, and it's what we try to do is ensure that children and staff, because let's face it, not everybody is aware of this, right, understands where their energy comes from, knows how energy is measured. So we teach about what a kilowatt hour is. We get students to compare energy generation and consumption through our live data portal, which I'll show you in a moment. We are really passionate about making sure that students are developing those green skills that they need for future careers really early on, and that they, you know, that they have some understanding. But also, it's not about us coming in and saying, you know, solar is a perfect solution for today's energy crisis. We also get students to think critically about some of the issues around solar, like thinking about the manufacture of it, the embedded carbon in solar panels, and yeah, we're just we come in on an annual. So if a school signs up with Solar for Schools, they get an education program for free. That entails an annual education visit, as well as a whole host of digital software and resources. We've got a video library, lesson library, a free app. We have our panelizer tool that students can use to design their own solar panel system. So that could be something that students do early on, you know, in the development stage of your project. Is you could run a competition where they design the solar panel system and then see who's got closest to the final design, and they can do that using our tools. We come in, we do workshops, assemblies, and yeah, this is really like the reason that Solar for Schools was set up was an ethos of kind of, you know, each one teach one, and also that children really are the arbiters of change, right? They're going to be the ones who go home, tell their parents and carers all about what's happened at school with solar, and they're going to inspire people at home to perhaps think about something that they've never thought about. Maybe even, you know, those who can think about, could we do this at home? But also start those debates about a subject that often adults can be quite skeptical about as well. So we're really, really passionate about getting children to do that. Our live data portal is an opportunity for schools to see their own solar generation. Schools get a login to this, and then so behind the scenes, so if you go onto this page, you'll just be able to see a school's solar, but a school that is with us and has a login will then also in the background be able to see their electricity consumption. So it's something that they can use to monitor their own energy use. And as you can see, it's all very sort of child friendly. And the reason being, we want students to use this. We want teachers to use it as a learning opportunity. We provide a kind of dashboard of this for, you know, your school screens, your assembly slides. And we provide kind of, you know, monthly support to schools as well for their education provision around their solar PV system. So just coming back to my slides. So one thing I really want to make clear, though, because the first thing that a business manager or a savvy business manager would do is go away and Google Solar for Schools. So I just really want to make clear that when I talk about Solar for Schools and the services that we provide, which is funding, project development, asset management, our operations and maintenance, and our education delivery, I'm talking about Solar Options for Schools Limited. That is the private limited company that pays for my salary and all of our development staff and our educators and all that we do. When I'm talking about funding, our funding model, which was set up as a separate entity so that it could govern itself, that is called the Solar for Schools Community Benefit Society, and they are two entirely separate entities. So I really want to make that very, very clear. We work with over 200 schools across the UK. I mean, we actually manage over 250 systems, but it's around about 200 schools that have joined the Community Benefit Society that I'm going to tell you about in a moment. And these are all the different councils that we've worked with and we are working with currently to achieve decarbonisation targets. We've been hugely successful with Leeds City Council. We have around 30 schools projects that have been developed through a partnership with Leeds City Council, partly through the PSDS grant scheme, and I'm showing you Hollybush Primary here, which has a 276 kilowatt peak system, and it's not our biggest. Our biggest is about 500 kilowatt peak now. Actually, we have a system in India that has just knocked the top performing system off the bill, so we're really proud of that. But Hollybush is a really, really great performing school. You can see the size of the system is just amazing. They are generating 96% of the school's annual total energy needs, which is really, really incredible. That is really largely because of their fantastic roof space and their consumption. So as it's been mentioned before, what we can develop for you really depends on your consumption and your available roof space. Typically, a school will replace about 30% of their electricity needs with solar. It's quite difficult to do more than that. On occasion, we can, like with this school. So the community, sorry, just going back to Solar Options for Schools, one of the reasons we're called Solar Options for Schools is that because we do provide quite a number of different options for schools to enable them to get solar. One of those options is the Community Benefit Society. So the Community Benefit Society is a not-for-profit organisation set up specifically to enable schools to get solar without necessarily needing the capital to invest in such, in such an enormously expensive project, right? Most schools do not have that kind of money. And it was set up also to give schools some control over what happens with those assets. So even though a school can't afford the asset, they become a member of a governed not-for-profit organisation that does still have some say over how those assets are utilised and how the financial model works. And I'll give you an example of that. So it was decided by the board of directors working for the member schools, and that board of directors is made up of CEOs of multi-academy trusts, teachers, people with solar experience. What they've decided, off the back of conversations with schools, but schools needed lots of flexibility in the model, right? So it was agreed that schools would be given the opportunity to buy the system at the depreciated value after 5 years being a member of the CBS. If they did manage to squirrel away the money to buy the system, they could do that. It's not contractually obliged to stay in the CBS. But also, what's I think really powerful is that if schools decide, okay, I want a solar PV system, I don't have the capital, I like this option of the Community Benefit Society because it enables us to get solar on our rooftop. We buy the solar electricity at a lower than market value rate. So we're able to save a bit of money on our electricity bills as well. We've got the solar, we're decarbonising, we're saving a bit of money on electricity, but also we've got the option, if we can squirrel away some money year on year, we can actually contribute that to our system and bring our PPA rate down, bring our solar rate down. So there is a way of manipulating the rate that you're paying for the solar as opposed to your mains energy price. You really do have very little control over what's happening with that energy price. You can't really manipulate it. Once you're locked into a contract, you're locked in. If you're on a variable contract, you've got no say over how much you're going to get the electricity for. So with this, it gives the schools a bit of flexibility on how much they're paying for the solar. The solar rate only changes according to inflation, right? Whereas your mains electricity price is probably going to go up. It fluctuates, doesn't it? And we really can't predict what's going to happen with it. So the Community Benefit Society will pay for the solar panels. It employs solar options for schools to project manage, right? So do the entire project for the school as hassle-freely as it can for the school, right? So enabling all the background work to go on without really much of intervention from the school needed. And then there will be 25 years of asset ownership through the Community Benefit Society, right? So through that governance. And then the school also gets 25 years of asset management. So it's a full asset management package that means that there are going to be no hidden costs for the school as as years go on. And that, and things do go wrong with solar. And as it's been highlighted, there are schools that have had systems put on their rooftop, they don't know what's happening. That there could be a fault, nobody's employed to take care of it. And it is really important, obviously, from a health and safety perspective, but also making sure that you don't have any surprise costs down the line. So it's really good to have that asset management package in place, and that is completely free with the Community Benefit Society. It includes monitoring of the system, diagnosis of any problems. It includes replacement of equipment, the labour to do that replacement. It also includes what can be quite reassuring for schools as well, is a lift and replace of the system in case of a leak that pops up, or or a series of leaks, and we'll just lift off that particular section of the system. We have lifted off entire systems before and put them back on schools, and sometimes put them back on new builds as well. So that is also possible. We raise money for the Community Benefit Society through FX. I'll just very quickly show you the FX investment page if you're interested to know how to support schools to get solar. FX is an ethical investment platform. We sell bonds to individual investors. They're just people like you and I who want to invest in a community-focused sustainability project that has a very much an education element to it. That's what our investors really value. And we're well on the way to achieving our target for our current bond offer. As well as fully funding the projects, there's no end of life costs. So when the solar panels expire, which they one day will, it will take a long time, but they do eventually, year on year, they reduce in performance. So after about 25 years, we'll sort of be looking at what the school wants to do, and we will take care of that at no cost to the school. As I said, there's the 25 years of asset management. It includes the education programme. There's flexibility over pricing. There's options for you to contribute to enable that flexibility of pricing, and there's the option of payback. And really, that enables us to offer a holistic approach to what we do with schools. And just to kind of highlight what we've done with Leeds City Council, as I said, that's I guess one of our most successful council relationships, and it's really it's really great. It really helps when we can work directly with a council. It saves a lot of time, and it ensures that we can do multiple schools, but also that a single school's experience is much more smooth when we have a direct relationship with that council. Just coming back to the education element, we as I say, we're really proud of the fact that we're helping to develop green skills. We come out and do workshops with the students. We'll fly a drone. We'll get them to fly a drone with us to do a rooftop assessment. Get students to think about where we can put solar, where we can't put it, and what are the reasons behind that. As I said, we talk about the manufacture of solar panels, how they're actually made, how they, where the materials come from. Students are so invested in this and so interested in it. They ask amazing questions. We have as I said, a free app that this is actually open source at the moment. Any school can download this and use. You can get students using the design tool on it, but also doing the different modules and getting points. And our Solar Explorer kit is in 7 schools. We're really proud to say we've managed to give one away to 7 different schools across the UK. And I think time's nearly up for me, so I'm just going to end by showing you where we are with our so that's the amount of schools that we have across the UK. So yeah, you can see we've got quite a good spread of schools in the north, the Midlands, and the southeast. And yeah, we'd really love to develop some more projects down in Kent. If you're interested to know who we've worked with in Kent so far, it's Weald of Kent Grammar School, Swale Cliff Community Primary School, Herne Bay Juniors. Yeah, I think I'm going to leave it there, but I will just end with my contact details. So actually, apologies, Shannon she got stuck on a train, so but she's actually the main point of contact if you wanted to find out more about the feasibility. We've actually done a number of feasibility schools for about 25 schools already, and that was based on some data that Kent City Council has provided to us. So we might already have your data. but you could just get in touch with us, let us know. Same as laser, what we need is your annual consumption data, and we need your mains rate that you pay for your electricity as well to be able to show you your potential savings. Thank you so much.
That's great. Thank you very much, Danielle. So I'm just going to pop my slides back up on the screen. Hopefully that has come up. So just to end the webinar with a few opportunities that are available for schools via the Greener Kent Schools programme. So we've got a project called We Are the Future, which will be launching in March 2025. This is funded by Material Focus and is a waste electrical and electronic equipment project, which will last 4 weeks in each school, with up to 5 schools taking part in a particular area at the same time. The activities would include fully funded STEM team repair activities for a whole year group within years 5 to 9 for up to 180 students, and that's worth up to £1,800 per school. There'd be wee recycling and repair bins, and a competition to win prizes for the most electricals repaired and recycled, as well as a repair cafe event at a school in each cluster area. So I think Joe has just put the expression of interest form into the chat. We'll be starting in Maidstone after February half term, and then we'll be working in some other areas across Kent over the next year. So we're still building on where those areas will be according to what the interest is like. Then there's some school governor training, which is available to book via the education people. And sign up is via Governor Hub, and this will focus on how governing boards can support schools to prioritise environmental sustainability as a key part of their school and or their trust strategy and enable a whole school approach. That's next Tuesday evening, 6 till 8 p.m, and I'll be leading that. And then for selected schools, Tunbridge and Morling Borough Council are running a carbon literacy training day. So this has been designed and will be led by Let's Go Zero and is for sustainability leads and other interested staff within schools and multi-academy trusts across Tunbridge and Morling. There is the possibility that schools on the outskirts, so into some of the other boroughs and district councils that border Tunbridge and Morling, could take part in this as well, as obviously children that live within Tunbridge and Morling do commute into those areas for their education. So this training day will be a chance for sustainability leads and interested staff to get up to speed with the latest climate science, develop their confidence in talking to colleagues and students about climate change and its impacts on schools, and they will gain the carbon literacy certification. It will be on Thursday the 27th of February and is at the Green Skills Factory in Mid-Kent College, and will be provided free to those schools via the UK Government Shared Prosperity Fund. The training day will include lunch and refreshments, so please email the climate change team at Tunbridge and Morling Borough Council for more details. And then lastly, the Nature Parks grant scheme. So this is for eligible schools in Kent and Medway only. So schools can join this webinar to find out how their school can be supported in applying for the Department for Education's National Education Nature Park Grant Scheme. This is a non-competitive grant and is for up to £10,000 to increase biodiversity across the school grounds, such as turning grey spaces green, pond restoration and grassland improvements. This will be on Thursday the 16th of January, so in a couple of days time, between 12:30 and 1 p.m. And Joe has just put the sign up link in the chat. The list of eligible schools is in that webinar link. It is just 39 schools across Kent, so it is very limited, but I'm very keen to make sure that those schools can get those grants that they've been earmarked for. So I'm just going to flick through these slides and get to the last part. So were there any questions at all, Joe?
We just had one, I think it was for Laser,
Yep.
about the return on investment period for Goldwyn School.
Okay, great.
Okay, so it's about 6 year payback for. Oh, sorry, the Goldwyn was the LED, wasn't it?
Oh,
Well,
for the LED.
So, yeah, so generally on for solar, the general rule of thumb is about 6 years, as long as it's kind of designed right in terms of the size of the system matches the consumption. So if you're funding it yourself, it's roughly about 6 years. But on the LED, I think it's usually less than that. But I don't know, Sue, do you know that one?
I don't off the top of my head, but a lot of them do tend to be less than the solar, in fairness.
Yeah.
Because it's a 20% saving that we tend to find overall on the energy bills. So sort of between 2 and 5 years generally.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Thank you. And then, so finally, just a recap and some key actions to take away from the webinar. So consider which energy themed actions you might want to take as part of your climate action plan. Conduct an energy audit and review any changes that you might need to take within your school. Review the opportunities that are available for your schools and see whether you want to sign up to any of those. I offer advice slots, so feel free to book in an advice slot with me. And obviously, Juliana has offered the same for energy related queries. And then finally, if you share your climate action plan with me, then as a number of schools already have, then I'll send through the Greener Kent Schools logo for you to proudly display on your website or Eco Club materials. So finally, just a thank you to everyone for joining along today. Thank you to my presenters, so Sue and Andy and Danielle, and to my colleague facilitator Joe, who has been helping in the background today to make sure it's all been running smoothly, as well as adding all the links. I'll be sharing the recording, the slides and the links along with the resources spreadsheet later this week. Please feel free to email me or to connect with me on LinkedIn, where I share lots of ideas and links and competitions and funding ideas. So thank you very much for joining and for staying. Sorry, it did overrun slightly. I'm really pleased that you were able to stay along and listen. Thank you very much.